So, Pavel Felgenhauer, do you agree that Putin's motives have to do with his own sort of personal agenda, as my guest in Doha seems to suggest?
To some extent, yes, that's true, but there are more important things involved. Russia has invested enormous amounts of resources, and not only prestige, into Syria. It was recently a top Russian general announced that Russia, from the beginning of the campaign, in the end of September 15, had shipped to Syria 700,000 tons of equipment, of weapons, of munitions, and other supplies. It's more than 2,000 tons a day. He said it's the right name, the Syrian Express. So this is enormous investment. This is not just to change a chip for something. Russia wants to maintain absolutely Syria as a foothold of its influence in the Middle East, expand the Russian presence in Syria dramatically. Instead of one naval small facility, that will be expanded to full naval base with apparently permanent naval presence, and also the air base near Latakia will be maintained and expanded. And even more importantly, Russia wants to show the other important powers in the Middle East that relying on the United States is futile, that those who rely on the United States lose, those who rely on Russia win. So Russia wants to form, based on its victory in Syria, a large Middle Eastern coalition where it will be the kind of man on top, bridging interests between countries like Egypt and Turkey, who don't like each other, Israel and Iran, which are both right now more or less Russian allies. Or at least Russia has wonderful relations with them, but they don't talk to each other. So that makes Russia indispensable in a broad coalition in the Middle East.
What does Russia, Pavel, what does Russia get out of this strategic alliance, it seems, with not only Turkey, but Iran as well?
Well, as I said, Russia wants to form a kind of grand Middle Eastern coalition where it will be the main kind of coordinator. And it's very important to balance and because Russia, of course, is not the Soviet Union, it's much smaller and weaker, to balance Iran against Turkey, to balance different members. So Russia has good relations with Iran, but with Iran they also have, from time to time, lots of tension. And right now there's a problem, a very serious practical military problem in Syria. Russia does not have reliable infantry at all. The Russian contingent is small, mostly Air Force. Now, of course, they moved into Aleppo some military police units, which are actually Sunni Muslims, specially formed, mostly Chechen, but also some Muslims from other parts of Russia. And that's apparently in agreement with Turkey, that these soldiers are going to man the checkpoints. The idea is that they will prevent possibly some outrages by Shia militias, because Russia wants to balance the sectarian part of it and be kind of good with all and be the man on top. And so the agreement with Turkey, which Russia hopes can influence some parts of the Syrian opposition after they have been humiliated and militarily smashed in Aleppo, that they can agree to join the Assad government in some reformed form, something like the Chechen Kadyrovtsi that were recruited to be pro-Russian, or like in Iraq when the Americans worked with the Sunni tribes, the so-called awakening. And for that, Russia needs Turkish influence, its influence with parts of the opposition, to make that thing work out. So after Aleppo, Putin hopes that this Kazakh possible without the United States and UN get together will begin the formation of a kind of awakening force, Sunni force, inside Syria, together with Turkey.
What about the ISIL component? I mean, there's a lot of talk about Russia, Pavel, wanting to sort of extend its sphere of influence and maintain what influence it may have at this point. But there is still an ISIL component that is very crucial to their involvement, perhaps, in Syria, isn't there?
Oh, of course, and that's been the official kind of ideological reason for the Russian invasion, and what the Russian public is told, that there are bad Chechens, there are other people, volunteers from other parts of Russia there with ISIS. We should kill them before they return, or there'll be a problem. So the ideological command to fight ISIS is going to be there after and when, if there is a sound kind of consolidation of the Russian position in the western, habitable part of Syria, there can be a move against ISIS too. And of course, most likely right now, there could be just soon a move against ISIS in Palmyra to push them out again.
All right. Right, hang on a second. Let me cross over to Pavel. Has the issue of Assad's legitimacy, Pavel, it's an issue that Metin just raised. Has the issue of Assad's legitimacy been sort of taken away by the Russians? Because it's not really being discussed, and I'll tell you why. A senior Syrian opposition leader, Riyad Hijab, who I'm sure you know of, he's been commenting on these negotiations that could take place in Kazakhstan, and he said that his committee was willing to join peace talks planned by Putin, provided that the aim was to set up a transition government, but in no way did he say Assad must step down, a condition that previously he had talked about.
Well, that is important also personally for President Vladimir Putin, who believed that the West is kind of destroying regimes and leaders they don't want. And it was Slobodan Milosevic, Saddam Hussein, Muammar Gaddafi. Now they went after Assad, and maybe next they'll go after him, Vladimir Putin. So it's important for him, for that not to happen, to set an example to other Middle Eastern leaders, kings, sheikhs, and presidents, that if you rely on Russia, you'll keep your job and you'll be safe. So, and of course, for Russia, in the long term, it's very important to keep the present, mostly Alawite, Syrian military intelligence elite in place, which are Russian connected. Many of them speak Russian because they were educated in Moscow, military academies, and so keep Syria connected, and that's so. For Russia, so it's very important to have Assad there. Right. And apparently, right now, Russia has succeeded very much in keeping him for the time being.
Okay.
I think there is. There is
10 seconds.
There is a different perspective. I think keeping sheikhs, leaders, and kings in power while killing tens of thousands of their own people, I think that is a very bad prescription for people in the Middle East, because this is something for many people is quite immoral. If President Putin wants to make certain points clear for the people of the region, because you are killing people and after that you are saying, look, I'm going to give you this sweet after I kill you. I mean, that is a very weak morally argument.
I'll have to leave it there at that point. Thank you very much for joining us, Marwan Qabalan here in Doha, Metin Gurjan and Pavel Felgenhauer. Thank you very much, and thank you for watching.